All right, in this video we're going to look at links, styling links, and buttons. And links are kind of special because they have different states. You have your regular links, your regular state, you have your hover state, an active state, and a visited state. And you can actually style those different states using something called a pseudo selector. And I'm also going to show you how to style buttons and also how to style a link as a button, because a lot of times you'll have actual A tags that you want to look like buttons in your website or your user interface. So let's go ahead and create a new file here called 08_links_buttons.html. And we're going to go ahead and change the title up to links and buttons. Okay, and let's add our style. And for now, we'll just put in an A tag. Doesn't matter where it goes, and just say click here and save. Let's open it up with Live Server, and we just have a simple link, and it's going to be blue by default with an underline, which doesn't look very good. So I'm going to grab onto that A tag here, use that as a selector, and I'm going to change the color to a dark gray. And then to remove the underline, we want to use the text decoration property, and we want to set that to none. Okay, so the default is underline, but we're going to set it to none. Now, if I hover over it, you'll see we get a cursor. The cursor changes into a pointer, but nothing else changes. So you're probably going to want some kind of change when you hover over it. Now, to do that, we can use the pseudo selector hover. So we can do A:, and then hover. And let's change the color to coral. So now if I go and I hover over it, it changes to coral. And you can add any properties you want here. You could do something crazy like let's do font size, change it to like 40 pixels. And now when I hover over it, it goes to 40 pixels font size. So you can do whatever you want in the hover state, but I'm not going to keep that. Let's just change the color. And if you want to add the underline on hover, you could do text decoration underline. And now you can see that it's colored and it's underlined. So in addition to hover, we have visited. So we can do A:visited. And let's just do color red. Now visited, at least for me, I don't use this very much. I don't think I've ever used it actually in a real project. When you click on it and you visit it, it then turns red, and it stays red. Even if I reload the server, it stays red. And if there were other links, if we didn't click on them, they'd be gray, dark gray. And then you'd click on it and they turn red. So it's kind of weird. And I really don't like it, and it's not something that I use, but it is possible. So I just wanted to show you that, but I'm going to comment that out. Another state that we have for links is active. So if we do A:active, and let's say color red, and now the active state is going to be when we click. So when I click, see how it turns red? And if I click and hold, it also turns red. So that's the active state, and that's another one that I really don't use, but it is possible. So those are the different states for links. Now what I want to do is I want to style. I'm going to put a button in here and style the link and the button the same way. So let's say button. And let's give both of these a class of btn. Okay, so this is often what I'll do in projects, is I'll have different button classes. Sometimes I'll have like a btn light if I want a light button, btn dark, which will be basically the same, just different colors. But let's just do btn. We'll say click here. Actually, you know what? Let's put in the text my button, just so we know that this is a button. And then up here, let's say my link, and save. And you can see that they're obviously formatted very differently initially, but we want to make them the same. And I'm going to just make this bigger. Not that big. Okay, so we have a link and a button. Let's see. I want these on separate lines. They're both inline elements, so I'm going to just put a couple line breaks here just to kind of get them away from each other. So buttons obviously are styled differently. They have a border, They have a little bit of padding here. The font's different. So let's go up here into our styling. And let's say button styling. So we have a class of BTN. And let's go ahead and add a background. And I'm going to use a blue that's like a Facebook brand blue. So it's going to be 4C 6C A0. And let's set the color of the text to white. Okay, let's save that and see what we get. All right. Now we want to remove the border because buttons have borders. So we're going to say border. We could either do border none like that, or we could do border 0. I usually use border none. So we'll save that. Now the border is off the actual button. Next thing we want to do is the font size. Okay, we want the font size to be the same for all links in buttons, which we're going to set to 16 pixels. So we'll save that. Good. Next thing we'll do is the padding. So let's say we want to do 10 on the top and bottom and 20 left and right. Save that. And this is zoomed in. That's why this is so big. Can actually zoom out a little bit now. Yeah, and let's change the font for the body. So I'm going to say font family. Let's grab this. Where is it? Tahoma Sigu UI Tahoma. Okay, that looks a little better. Back down to our button. Let's give it a little border radius. Okay, and these are all properties that we've learned about. So we're kind of taking all the stuff that we've learned and actually creating an element that's styled. Okay, so now you can see they have the rounded corners. Let's actually put a line break above the A tag too, just to bring it down a little bit. All right, so these are pretty much identical now. So for any button or any link that we want to style this way, we would just add the class BTN, okay, globally. Now, one thing that I want to mention is we'll go over this in a minute, how the hover state. But when we go over the actual button, we don't get a cursor. We don't get a pointer on our cursor. And for this, we do. Okay, links by default, you do get the pointer. So if we want the pointer to show up either way, we can actually set that in the CSS. So we can set cursor pointer, and now when I go over the button, you can see that it turns into a pointer. Now for the hover state. So let's say BTN hover. Oops, we don't want a space there. That won't work. So BTN hover, and we're going to set the color to, let's do a light gray. So that's the text color, and then the background, I'm going to set that to just a slightly lighter blue than the one we have, which is going to be 446190. Okay, or is it darker? I think it's, yeah, I think it's darker. And then I'm going to just get rid of the text decoration underline for the link up here. Even though we said link hovers should be coral, down here we're saying the button hover should be light gray, and this is going to overwrite that style. So let's save. Let's go ahead and hover, and you can see that the blue gets a little darker. So you can't even distinguish the difference here between the link, the A tag, and the button tag, and that's what we want. So that's what you're going to do a lot in websites, and especially in user interfaces where you have a lot of links that you want to format as buttons. All right, so that's it, guys. In the next video, what I want to do is start to look at menus, creating vertical and horizontal navigation bars. So we'll get into that next.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer.